when we write code, what we want to look at is, well, that's a string maybe, or that's some kind of array of numbers, or that's some kind of entry like maybe a phone book entry where you have a name like Bob, not a fancy name in this case, but well, it's the standard name to use, and maybe a phone number that's, well, 0151 and something else. And to the computer, all of this is numbers, but still, this is going to go in one place. It gets a key, it gets a number, and you can talk to this data as if it were numbers, and this is also what happens when you write code. But looking at this as a piece of numbers is not very practical, because it increments, like it puts a lot of mental load on us. We don't want to keep numbers straight, we want to keep names straight, we want to link data entries, we don't want to care about the numbers that the computer cares about. So the C language has implemented or has added some feature that's called types. And types are, for example, int, which is a number. So we might not care about all numbers, but some numbers we do care about. So we write int x, and the computer gives us a memory slot called x that we can put a number in. If we want a string, well, we have the char star, which is a char pointer. If we only care about a single character, we have the char. If we want a pointer to something that we don't care about, we have a void pointer, which might be something new for you. We can have pointers to anything. We also have something called structs. Like, as you can see, there are so many different types that we can put in front of a variable name, and the system will just tell us, okay, you want a struct, a void pointer, a char pointer, an int, and it will just reserve a memory space in memory, and we can put a number in there. And this is basically how the system keeps your data straight. And when you tell it, okay, pointers, what are pointers for? A pointer is essentially something that can hold a key. So the key to some other location, maybe in this case location 5, can be stored in this slot. Because everything's just numbers. This number 5 will just be stored in here, and what this key represents is a reference to this room. So whenever I want to say, okay, I need to know the room number of X, I use a pointer for that. So a pointer basically points me towards the direction where something sits in memory. And this is useful for so many cases. For example, when you have some kind of record information, you don't want to copy that all over the place in your memory. If you need to reference it from multiple places, you use pointers for that. Or if you are into like mathematics and want to represent some mathematical structures like graphs, which is going to be important when you do something like Google Maps does, finding the way between different points. Like it has a city like Berlin, Wolfsburg, and maybe Heilbronn. And you want to find the way between these. You might represent it as a graph, but how do you do that if you don't have a reference to some data that's in memory? This is what pointers are for. Pointers are basically referring to elements that already exist in your memory, and you just want to know where they are stored, since every data resides in some room inside of your memory, which is linear, by the way, so this one might be sitting here, this one might be sitting there. Each object has a number in your system, and if it has a number, you can put it in a variable and store that value in here. And pointers are there to achieve these kind of things, and in order to make it easy so that you don't have to know the number, you just write the type of what you want to reference towards, followed by a star, and then you have a pointer to this type. So if you have a character, like the character C sitting in memory, and you want something that points towards it, if this is a char, this is going to be a char star. And if you want to reference that, you get a char star star. If you want to reference that, and so on. This might be too complex, so after 2 stars it usually stops. But this is what pointers are very useful for. In the end, pointers are still numbers to the system, namely telling it, well, this is in location there and this is in location there. But when you build up these data structures, what the pointers will do is they will give you the location, and once you have the location, you can also access the data. Because likewise, if you have the key to a room in a hotel, then you can also go there, open it up, and get whatever's in there out of it. Okay. Now, this is a quick overview on what pointers are. One last thing.